The Ascent of Mount Carmel by St. John of the Cross, Book 2, Chapter 9. How faith is the proximate and proportionate means to the understanding whereby the soul may attain to the divine union of love. This is proved by passages and figures from divine Scripture. From what has been said, it is to be inferred that in order for the understanding to be prepared for this divine union, it must be pure and void of all that pertains to sense, and detached and freed from all that can be clearly apprehended by the understanding, profoundly hushed and put to silence, and leaning upon faith, which alone is the proximate and proportionate means whereby the soul is united with God. For such is the likeness between itself and God, that there is no other difference, save that which exists between seeing God and believing in Him. For even as God is infinite, so faith sets Him before us as infinite. And as He is 3 in 1, it sets Him before us as 3 and 1. And as God is darkness to our understanding, even so does faith likewise blind and dazzle our understanding. And thus, by this means alone, God manifests Himself to the soul in divine light, which passes all understanding. And therefore, the greater is the faith of the soul, the more closely is it united with God. It is this that St. Paul meant in the passage which we quoted above, where he says, "He that will be united with God must believe." That is, he must walk by faith as he journeys to Him, the understanding being blind and in darkness, walking in faith alone. For beneath this darkness the understanding is united with God, and beneath it God is hidden. Even as David said in these words, "He set darkness under His feet, and He rose upon the cherubim and flew upon the wings of the wind. And He made darkness and the dark water His hiding place." By His saying that He set darkness beneath His feet, and that He took the darkness for a hiding place, and that His tabernacle round about Him was in the dark water, is denoted the obscurity of the faith wherein He is concealed. And by His saying that He rose upon the cherubim and flew upon the wings of the winds, is understood His soaring above all understanding. For the cherubim denote those who understand or contemplate, and the wings of the winds signify the subtle and lofty ideas and conceptions of spirits, above all of which is His being, and to which none by His own power can attain. This we learn from an illustration in the Scriptures. When Solomon had completed the building of the temple, God came down in darkness and filled the temple, so that the children of Israel could not see. Whereupon Solomon spake and said, "The Lord hath promised that He will dwell in darkness." Likewise, He appeared in darkness to Moses on the mount, where God was concealed. And whensoever God communicated Himself intimately, He appeared in darkness, as may be seen in Job, where the Scripture says that God spoke with him from the darkness of the air. All these mentions of darkness signify the obscurity of the faith wherein the divinity is concealed, when it communicates itself to the soul, which will be ended when, as St. Paul says, that which is in part shall be ended, which is this darkness of faith, and that which is perfect shall come, which is the divine light. Of this we have a good illustration in the army of Gideon, whereof it is said, all the soldiers had lamps in their hands, which they saw not, because they had them concealed in the darkness of the pitchers. But when these pitchers were broken, the light was seen. Just so does faith, which is foreshadowed by those pitchers, contain within itself divine light, which when it is ended and broken, at the ending and breaking of this mortal life, will allow the glory and light of the divinity which was contained in it to appear. It is clear, then, that if the soul in this life is to attain to union with God, and commune directly with him, it must unite itself with the darkness whereof Solomon spoke, wherein God had promised to dwell, and must draw near to the darkness of the air, wherein God was pleased to reveal his secrets to Job, and must take in its hands in darkness the jars of Gideon, that it may have in its hands, that is, in the works of its will, the light, which is the union of love, though it be in the darkness of faith, so that when the pitchers of this life are broken, which alone have kept from it the light of faith, it may see God face to face in glory. It now remains to describe in detail all the types of knowledge and the apprehensions which the understanding can receive, the hindrance and the harm which it can receive upon this road of faith, and the way wherein the soul must conduct itself, so that whether they proceed from the senses or from the spirit, they may cause it not harm, but profit. Chapter 10, wherein distinction is made between all apprehensions and types of knowledge which can be comprehended by the understanding. In order to treat in detail of the profit and the harm which may come to the soul with respect to this means to divine union which we have described, namely, faith, through the ideas and apprehensions of the understanding, it is necessary here to make a distinction between all the apprehensions, whether natural or supernatural, that the soul may receive, so that then, with regard to each of them in order, we may direct the understanding with greater clearness into the night and obscurity of faith. This will be done with all possible brevity. It must be known, then, that the understanding can receive knowledge and intelligence by two channels, the one natural and the other supernatural. By the natural channel is meant all that the understanding can understand, whether by means of the bodily senses or by its own power. The supernatural channel is all that is given to the understanding over and above its natural ability and capacity. Of these kinds of supernatural knowledge, some are corporeal and some are spiritual. The corporeal are two in number. Some are received by means of the outward bodily senses, others by means of the inward bodily senses, wherein is comprehended all that the imagination can comprehend, form, and conceive. The spiritual supernatural knowledge is likewise of two kinds, that which is distinct and special in its nature, and that which is confused, general, and dark. Of the distinct and special kind, there are 4 manners of apprehension that are communicated to the spirit without the aid of any bodily sense. These are visions, revelations, locutions, and spiritual feelings. The obscure and general type of knowledge is of one kind alone, which is contemplation that is given in faith. To this we have to lead the soul by bringing it thereto through all these other means, beginning with the first and detaching it from them. End of chapter 10.